All right, before I share my screen for Pilot to kind of show you where everything is located, I did want to talk a little bit about Collaborate Ultra versus WebEx because several of the people that are in this session now have been to my WebEx training and have also been to Collaborate Ultra. So if you are going to be teaching a class that is that hybrid delivery method where you've got a face-to-face component and an online component, or if you're teaching fully online, there are a few differences between Collaborate and WebEx. Overall, I do think that Collaborate Ultra is typically a little bit easier to use. Collaborate Ultra is a little more simplified, and because of that, it has a lot of similar functionalities to WebEx, but they're a little more user-friendly, in my opinion, especially for someone who's not familiar with WebEx or who's not really used to teaching in this format. I usually recommend starting with Collaborate Ultra. When it comes to having help documentation, Collaborate Ultra has been around a little bit longer, so that's another positive, that's another pro for Blackboard here, is that when it comes to help documentation, they're set up really well. I actually will send you guys some links in a follow-up email to that help documentation because once again, very user-friendly. The WebEx help documentation is not as easy to find and it's not as well organized. And then the only thing that I would say is a negative when we're talking about the differences between WebEx and Collaborate Ultra is that WebEx has a little more capacity when it comes to connection. And so most of our connectivity issues that we were seeing last year for different faculty members using Collaborate Ultra, most of those connectivity issues were happening in Collaborate Ultra, not quite as frequently in WebEx. Luckily, most of the time, if you have any connection issues when you're in a session, that can be resolved by logging out and rejoining. It does break up the flow of your class, but typically there's a pretty easy fix for it. I did just want to be honest and kind of put those out there before we keep going because I do get a lot of questions, well, which one should I use? So with that being said, let me go ahead and stop sharing this. And I will go in to show you from a pilot classroom standpoint where it's located and then how you can set up your, let's see, how you can set up your scheduled classes. Sorry, I'm getting this shared. Give me just a sec. I'm sharing my screen. Awesome. Let me go ahead and exit out of here. So can you guys see the Pilot 101 page or does it look a little funky? Oh, is everyone muted? Can someone give me the heads up that you can see this okay?
So Courtney, it's not very well focused, but otherwise it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and look at the Pilot page. When you log into your Pilot course, there are a couple different options for where you can find Collaborate Ultra. It is automatically housed right here in communication. So that's one way to access it and one way to direct your students to access it. Another option is when you look at content, right now you'll see that I have a WebEx module. You can also create a module for Collaborate Ultra. And the way that you add that in here is by add existing activities, external learning tools, and then this is alphabetized, so you're just going to scroll down until you see Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. And both of those links, whether from communication or from directly in your content module, are going to take the students to the same exact page. So once you click in, if it loads, we will see. There we go. This is what you will see. So this class session was something that I populated a while ago. I'm going to delete that because I want to show you how to schedule your sessions from scratch. So when you come in here, you're going to see a gray button for create session, but right above that, you're also going to see that there's this course room. And so I've had faculty who decide that rather than creating sessions for every week, what they want to do is just use the course room. It's very easy, it's unlocked, and when I say unlocked, that means that it is available all the time to the people who are within your class. So this is great too if you have students who want to get together and discuss a group project, then they are welcome to use this course room, and they're able to get in without you having to be in there hosting the meeting. So the course room is pretty neat. To create a session, you're going to click on this gray button, and over here it pulls up all of the details. So you have to start by putting in a name, and I'll put this in as practice session. And then we're going to go through some of the event details here. If you have a guest speaker or anyone from outside of the class that will be joining, you can click this button for guest access. You can select what role they want to have. Typically, when we have guest speakers, I recommend using the presenter role. And once we hit this create down at the bottom, there's going to be a link here generated. So whenever you have guest speakers, you can copy that link and send it to them in an email, just like I did for this session. When they click on that guest link, it'll bring them right into the Collaborate Ultra session. So that's important. You do not need this for your students, though. This is only for anyone who's outside of the class. If you would like them to join the class, is what the guest access is for. I heard a ding. Do I have a question?
Yes, Courtney, maybe this is a way. So I sent you earlier email.
I did get your email right before the session. I'm glad that you brought that up.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so if I can use my MacBook as a guest role, right? And then it will show up, then I can use both. Is that the way to do that?
So that is one thing that when I read the email, my first thought was WebEx would probably be better for that. But what I want to do is talk to a couple of my colleagues and see if they've ever tried anything like that. And we can try to schedule a practice with you and figure out how to make that work. So I don't have a good answer for you right now, but I will find an answer for you.
Okay, because I can use MATLAB right from the podium also and switch them right there. But maybe it'll be easier for me if I have my own computer and I have a MATLAB there. Then I can load all my script there and I can execute it instead of going to podium computer.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep. So let me reach out to some of my colleagues who have a little more experience with MATLAB and get a better idea of how we could make that work with our classroom equipment. So I'll definitely get back to you sometime today with a better answer after we finish up this workshop. Does that sound okay?
That's great. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thanks. Thank you for reminding me. All right, so now in this create session, we've talked about the guest link role. We've talked about putting in the session name. The next thing you want to put in are the start and end dates. And what I want to mention here, we've got a couple of different options. So there's the option to have no end date and to leave this open for the entire semester. So it'd be kind of like how the course room is set up, but you would need to be in there. So you can use that, or you can do a repeat session, and that's the one that I see most commonly. So I'm going to do a repeat session as an example in here. I'm going to set the start date as the first day of the semester, and here we can say maybe 2. You can type, you can also use these arrows to change the time. Both ways work. End date, let's say that it's going to end at 3, our class. So now down here is where you set up how often does it repeat. If you're teaching a course twice a week, you could say weekly, every week, and then down here, select your days. So I see a lot of Tuesday, Thursday classes. You know that if it's green that it's selected. To deselect, you just click it again and it'll turn gray. And then end after occurrences, you can think, all right, how many weeks do we have? About 15 weeks in the semesters, 15 or 16, twice a week. So let's say we'll end this after, we'll say 32, a couple extra in there. Early entry right here is kind of neat. This is actually something that WebEx does not have, that Collaborate Ultra does, and a lot of people like this function. You can set it so that your students can get in before the class time actually starts. And that means that you don't have to be in there and they can still get in there up to 15 minutes early, 30 minutes early, all the way up to an hour. If you don't want any early entry, you want them in there right at that 2 o'clock or right at that 3 o'clock, then you can also select no early entry. I think 15 is pretty good because if you do get in there, whether you're in the session or not, that's a nice time before class if someone has questions, before other people start to come in, just like if you were in the actual classroom and people showed up early. So before we hit create, these are all the event details. This icon over here is the session settings. So for you, default attendee role, most of the time we keep the students as participants. You can change their role from within the meeting. So I usually say go ahead and keep it as a participant. That keeps them from being able to mess around with the settings inside of the meeting. And then this also has their participant permissions. So do you want them to be able to chat, share video, share audio? And if you're going to use the whiteboard function, do you want them to be able to draw on the whiteboard? I heard a ding. Do I have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. Okay, so say I have a class that runs from 1 to 2, and so that's what I put as the beginning and end time. But say I have like a student that needs to talk to me after class at 2 o'clock, would it like kick me out of that room or would it stay open?
Nope, as long as you are inside of that session, it will not kick you out.
Okay.
Yep, that's a really good question.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So then with the settings, those are the main ones. When it comes to allowing recording downloads, that's up to you. Most of the time, I think faculty like to keep it so that their students cannot download the recording, but they can just automatically view them in Collaborate Ultra. So that doesn't typically get selected, nor does the anonymized chat messages. It's usually good to see who is sending the messages during your class. People can call in, so if you have a student who maybe they're getting off work kind of late and so they want to call in for the first part of the class and then once they get home to their computer join in that way. I had that happen a lot in several of my classes when I was in MPA here. This is where you would have enable session telephony, and so whenever you send out the link or whenever students go to join, there is a call-in code that they can use to phone in to the session. So yes, most of these settings are left unchecked. I don't usually mess with them just to keep it simple. So then you can go ahead when you're ready and hit create. All right. I heard another ding. What's up?
Yes, Courtney, you're setting a session. What if I use the open? I can do all the settings there too?
Can you repeat your question for me? I'm not sure I understood what you were asking.
So instead of setting a session, can I click on my course and do all the setting over there also? Or do I have to create a session?
Ah, okay, so I see what you're saying. The session settings from within the meeting? Can you change them from there?
Yeah, instead of creating a session, you have a course room, clicking directly over there, and then you can start there, right? You don't have to create a session. So
Exactly.
Yep. If I'm doing there, do I still do all these settings like you did now?
Oh, okay. No. So you do not have to change all the settings like you did now. This course room is just open all the time. So you can just join it. You can just have your students join it if you don't want to mess with creating sessions. But if you ever do want to change the settings to the course room, this little circle over here with the ellipsis inside, you can edit settings from here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So I stopped sharing that content. Do we have any other questions regarding how to set up the sessions?
I have a question. It's probably might be a little too early, and I see Dr. Rattan there, who's in the engineering college, but they have Discord over there, which is a collaboration service also. And so I was wondering about office hours. Like I talked to someone previously about using Collabra to schedule your office hours, but there's also discourse over there. I don't know. It's probably might be too early to ask that question, but
Are you wanting to know like what the difference is between using the two?
probably what's the best avenue to go on? Because I
Okay.
like Collabra. It seems very easy to use.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, if so, Discord is not my favorite. I don't prefer using Discord for much of anything. I think it is not user friendly at all. And that's coming from someone who doesn't have a heavy tech background. So I can see in the engineering department how Discord might be preferred because a lot of their students already use Discord for streaming and for gaming. But for you, if you like Collaborate Ultra and you think that this one is pretty simple to use, you can very easily create different sessions like we just did for office hours. I know that Dr. Serrano has done that before, and with her experience, she would actually create a session with the student's name. And so they would know this is the one for you so that you're not going into an open session and having several students in there at the same time.
well, maybe you can show that at some time during the session how to choose a particular person to join the session or
So that is one thing with you don't choose a particular person. So you could always create a session that and send a guest link. You cannot choose one person, but what she would do is name the session the name of the student. And so
and
that
then
way,
okay.
yep, they know exactly which one to go into. And other students, just hopefully they're respectful enough to know, okay, that's not my time slot, that's not my session, so they don't join it. Michelle, did you have a question?
I see.
Yes. Okay, so last year I was on distance learning and I used Collaborate. And for my one class for personality, we did presentations, group presentations. So what I did is I created individual sessions for each group so they could be moderators and share their screens. Now, if I do that again, is there any way I could put them into like one folder? So there'd be like a folder for maybe class meetings and then a separate one for, so it's not, it was like, it took up 2 pages for 10 of the group presentations. And so you had to always go down to find, the differences between the class and the presentations. I just want to know if there was any way to organize.
Yes, that's a great question, and unfortunately, there is not. There's not a way to create folders to put the sessions in. That's something that has actually been brought up a lot, and I'm surprised Collaborate Ultra has not made that change. But there's no way to organize them in that respect. You do just have to continue to scroll down if that's the way that you choose to set it up. Good question. Dr. Atan, did you have another question?
Yes, let me pick up on that. Can you, the link, guest link you're sending, can you send to that group and all of them can join them? Or do we have to create an individual one for all this, let's say group, there are 4 students in the group. Do you have to create a guest link for separately for all of them, or can you create one link and then send them that link?
So for the guest link, the students, as long as they are in your class, they do not need a guest link to join any sessions. So they can just go into Collaborate Ultra. You don't have to generate a guest link at all. That's really only used for anyone who's outside of your class or who is outside of the organization. So you could send them that link and they could come in maybe as a guest speaker.
Okay, so let me, but my question really was that I think this is for the office hour. Can I just, because not all the students are going to have questions in the office hour, they can send me a email saying, okay, I have a question, then I can go to the WebEx and have them join for that particular student instead of creating session.
Gotcha. So you cut out a little bit, and let me know if I don't answer this the way you were expecting or needing. If they were to email you and say, hey, this is the question, and you're like, all right, let's jump in to Collaborate Ultra so we can talk about this, virtually face to face. What I would recommend, instead of creating a guest link or creating a session, have them join that course room. That's a perfect use for the course room. You can both just get on your pilot page and go to Collaborate Ultra and click on that course room.
I think I like that. That's a good idea. Instead of creating a WebEx or anything like that, I think you can just go in the Okay, I like that. That's good.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's something that's a little bit easier because with WebEx, you would have to send them a link for them to join the session. So that is one thing that makes Collaborate Ultra a little bit easier. Yes, Michelle?
Okay. So now when I did office hours, I did it in WebEx because what I was running into with doing it in Collaborate was that because I have, of course, multiple classes I teach, and so I could only be at one place at one time. And so, like, if I was in an individual room, say for my Psych 3310, and I had someone that was in my 3510 class, I wanted to come to my office hours, well, he didn't have access to the room. So if he came into the room for 3510, I can't be there and in 3310. So that's what I was running into. Is there a way to go around that?
In that case, you could use the guest link because the student in 3510 was not in your course. You could send them a guest link to your office hours session and they could join even though they're in a different class. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so that's one way to use that with office hours in Collaborate Ultra. All right, Wallace. Did you have a question?
Real quick, I'm just trying to set up my repeat sessions for Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And is the end date in December, like when the whole thing ends? I mean, it started Monday and
yeah. So basically, let me share my screen with you again so you can see what it looks like in the different instances. The end date for this, it's a little different than the end date in most pilot courses. Where'd you go? Come on. I'm trying to share. Basically, the end, it's more of an end time. So it'll have these repeat sessions. You don't have to put the end date as the final date in December. What you can do is say, all right, it starts the 23rd at 1 p.m. and ends the 23rd at 2, but then it's going to
Oh,
repeat those same times 3 times a
oh,
week.
okay. Just do it with respect to Monday's class and then
Hmm.
repeat it Monday, Wednesday, Friday till whatever, 15 weeks or whatever it is. I see.
Yes. And then
Uh,
you'll see over here, once you create those,
yeah,
you'll notice that here's one for the 26th, for the
yeah.
31st, for the 2nd. Yep.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to keep sharing my screen, and we're going to see how this works out. From what I'm hoping to share with you is this course room while I'm in a Collaborate Ultra, seeing if it'll let me share another Collaborate or Ultra. So let's see how this goes. Okay, I'm going to allow. I am muted. So can everyone see that Collaborate session okay?
So are you trying to create another collaborative session from the classroom?
No, right now I want to share what the session looks like so I can show you instead of just talking through the different functions in here, I can actually show you. So can you guys see where it says welcome? You're the
Yeah.
only one in the room.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So what I want to kind of move over to now is, all right, you've got your sessions created. Now, how do I share my PowerPoints? How do I record? How do I do all of those basic functions from within the room? So I kind of wanted to go through that with you real quick.
Mhm.
When you first join your Collaborate Ultra session, you'll see over here, it's really nice because it prompts you. Do you want to start recording? You can hit that record button. The other place you can find that is in that tab up here in the upper left. And you'll see this too from within our own session because I made you all moderators so that you can see what I see. But the start recording button is right here, and that's where you will stop recording as well when you're all done with your class. So you see where it says use your phone for audio. This is that information that I was talking to you about. If you click on that and your students need to dial in, this is what you share with them. Okay, so you would copy this information and give it to your student so that they have a way to call in if for whatever reason they can't make it to a computer to join the session. Okay. Otherwise, a couple of things I talked about earlier. If you look down here, you've got your audio, your video, and the raise hand. Over here, this shows your status and your settings. So this is a good way to check if your connection is strong. Right now, I'm in the green. That's showing that my connection is great. This shows up for every participant in the class. And so when you open up the little purple tab over here, it shows this little box right here next to every student's name and whether or not they have a strong connection. So if it's medium, this will turn yellow. If it's a bad connection, it will turn red. Okay. Now going into the Collaborate panel, this little purple tab over here. Usually it defaults to the chat. This is one of the first places it'll go, and you can use this just like any other chat function, similar to the one that we have in WebEx. In WebEx, the way that you send individual messages, there's a drop-down where you select a person's name. And here, you can search for them in this little chat box here, and that allows you to send individual messages instead of just everyone. Same with moderators. If you have more than one moderator, you can have a chat with just them. This one is everyone, so this is anything you send here, the whole class will see. For attendees, this is kind of what I was talking about, how it'll have this little status next to each of the participants. If you were to have a full class in here, every single one of them will have this little bar to show you if they have a poor connection. There are also attendee controls. So for right now, I can only make a captioner, but when you have a full class instead of just one moderator, another option that shows up over here is make a presenter. So that's really good if you have your students coming in to do projects or to give presentations. You can use this to only make 1 or 2 students a presenter instead of having the settings set up so that everyone comes in as a presenter. Do I have any questions so far about what I've talked about? Next, I'm going to go into the sharing. So were there any questions about anything before I move on to sharing?
Okay, so and who are online and attending your class, you can, if they have a question, you can then do the same thing, right? They can ask question which everybody can hear.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Okay.
Carney, sorry, would you please repeat again the how to distinguish sending chat just for one person during the class and then the whole class?
Yeah, so this chat function will default to everyone, and you can see that right up here. If you click this little back button and you search for someone in your class, there's, of course, I'm the only one in this session, so I can't, but I can put their name in there. It'll populate here, and I'll click on it. And when you click on their name, it opens up a chat with just that one person.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, I'll go ahead and talk about sharing content. And if you think of another question and you raise your hand, I'll hear the ding. I can't see our screen right now since I'm working in this other screen, but I will hear it, so just let me know. So the share content icon is right here. It looks like a little square with an arrow going out of it. Some of the things that you can do in Collaborate Ultra, we have the whiteboard function, share application and screen, share camera, and share files. So share camera is really good if it's a little different from just sharing the camera that's built into your computer to show your face, but if you were to have a DocuCam or some sort of camera set up separately that was plugged into your computer, I see this a lot in chemistry classes, sometimes in math classes if they're writing things out. You can share that camera to the students and they can see what you're working on that way. So that is the difference between this share camera and this share video, okay? The most common one that I hear, so we'll do whiteboard afterward, but the most common one I hear is, okay, how do I share my PowerPoint and how do I share a video? So when it comes to the PowerPoint, I think that the easiest way to share it on Collaborate Ultra is using this Share Files function. So you can click on this and add files. Awesome, I actually already have one loaded in, so that's perfect. So when you add the file, I'll just click through so you can see. You'll see that it'll pull up any of the documents that you have on your computer, so you can go ahead and locate your PowerPoint, double click on that, and it'll populate right here. Whoops, just use that. So anytime you want to share, you'll just click on that PowerPoint after you've pulled it up, and this goes for all different files. If you want to do PDF or Word docs, you can add those on here too. And so I'm going to click on that so that the background of it turns black instead of gray, and then I'll be able to hit this Share Now button down at the bottom. This is letting me preview slides, so this is really good if you have a longer PowerPoint and you want to start maybe in the 3rd or the 4th slide. I'm going to start on the first one, and there it is. So this is really simple. There are annotation tools in here. So if you wanted to make any marks on them, you'll see that there's a pen up here. Here's a little text box. If you click on that and select anywhere on the slide, you can start typing. The way to go through the slides, you'll see down here there's a little arrow. So that's how you click through them. This was a capstone project that was shown to us back in 2020, right before I finished up. So after you've shared your slides and you're ready to be done presenting those, there's a little icon up here with a circle and a square to stop sharing. So you click on that and it goes away. So like I said, for PowerPoints, that is the best way, in my opinion, to do it. Something else that's really neat is if you go into the class session a couple days early, you can load your files in here and they will stay in here. Just like I've loaded this file in the past, probably recording a tutorial for someone else, and it is still here. I heard some dings.
I have
What questions do I have? Sure.
I have a question. When I start the Collaborate session, I'm the moderator, right? And
Yes.
the students are seeing my screen. Is that right?
The students will see your picture or your video. They will not see your screen unless you share your screen, and that's what I'm going to show you next.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I need. Okay.
Okay.
I'll put my hand in
Perfect. All right. So was there another question? I thought I heard a couple other dings.
Can you explain again? I'm not sure I understood what Wallace was asking and what you responded.
Sure, yeah. So Wallace was asking, when I first get into the Collaborate Ultra and I am the moderator, will the students be able to see my whole screen? And the answer is no. What the students are going to see when you first pop into the Collaborate Ultra session, they'll see little boxes. Like when we first got into our session, there were little boxes. Some people had their camera on, some people had them off. That's what the students will see.
Mm-hmm.
They won't be able to see your screen until you share your screen, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do right now.
I thought you were sharing the screen right now. I thought, when you doing that?
I am. Yep.
Okay.
I'm sharing my screen in our workshop session, but I want to show you what the steps are to share a screen. So that's what I'm going to go through right now. Yeah.
Okay.
I know the way that we set up this workshop, it can be a little bit confusing, so I'm sorry about that. So the next thing that we do want to go over is how do I share my screen? How do I share my screen with the students? And then also I want to talk about how to share a video, because there are some specific things you have to do to share a video. So starting with the screen, this is what you're going to click. It's share application/screen. And then it depends if you are in Firefox or if you are in Chrome. In Firefox, this is what you're going to see. All right, there are different windows you can select, or you can select your entire screen, and that is up to you. So these are some of the different things I have on my computer that are open right now. That's what I can choose from, or I can choose my entire screen. Once you make that choice, this button that says allow it won't be grayed out, you'll be able to share it. So one thing with our screen, I'm sharing my full screen right now. I'm going to go back into our regular Collaborate session, and you're going to see the screen look really crazy, right? So right now we see, oh my goodness, there are a billion windows. It's like that cool mirror effect. So when you're sharing your entire screen, if you are in the Collaborate Ultra window, it's going to look a little weird like this. But once you click out of that, so if I go back into that other course room, it goes back to normal, and you're not seeing that crazy mirrored effect. So that is something that when it happens, occasionally people freak out a little bit. I do want to show you, so I'm going to stop sharing here for a second, because I want to show you what that process looks like in Chrome. It looks a little bit different. I'm going to pull up a different session so I can show you how that looks in Google Chrome, which, by the way, those are the two browsers we recommend with Collaborate Ultra. Those are the ones that work the best. So if you do not have Chrome or Firefox, I would recommend downloading those before you start your classes in the fall if you're going to use Collaborate.
So
Okay.
before you go there, on the Podium computer, what do we have, Chrome or Firefox?
Both. Yep, both will be available to you. All right, so we're going to go over into Chrome and I'm going to show you that same thing so you can see what the difference is. Here goes that crazy mirror effect until I get over here. All right, so can you guys see the welcome? Okay, perfect. All right, so when we share from Google Chrome, whoops, let me move this over. There we go. When we share from Google Chrome, this is what it's going to look like. And this is actually what you need to share a video. So in order to share a video, you have to use Google Chrome, which is so crazy. So even though sometimes Collaborate it's a little simplified in a lot of ways, this is one of those weird quirks that is a little bit annoying. But if you need to share a video, you have to use Google Chrome. And right now, I do not have any YouTube videos pulled up. So what I'm going to do is pull one up so I can show you. You'll see a lot of Blippi. This is what my kids like to watch. It's very annoying, but we'll use it because it's there. So now you'll look at the Chrome tab and you can see that there is the YouTube video is pulled up right there. Right? So when you share a video, there's also a little button right here that says share audio. And the way that this works is when you go to share a video with your students, you need to click that share audio so they can actually hear it, because otherwise they'll see the video moving, but they won't be able to hear anything. So there's that. There's that. I've clicked on it, and then you'll see how that share button turned blue. So in Chrome, it's share, and in Firefox, it's allow. So they look a little bit different. All right, do I have any questions right now about sharing content?
Okay, so I have a question. So files, I understand that. So in the application screen, it has to be whatever is there on your application on your computer, right? Is that true?
Yes.
What is the so let's say the example I will give. So the files I'm using, PowerPoint or PDF or whatever, the application. Let's say I have a MATLAB in the application folder of my computer. So I have a MATLAB there. I run that and I can show it from there. Is that true?
Yes. Yep. As long as it is open at the time that you're sharing. So the problem and this is WebEx and Collaborate Ultra, you have to have that application open in order to share it.
Yes, so I can open it before the class start, right? I can run.
Exactly.
I can have the MATLAB run, and I can use that.
Yes, and I encourage that a lot of the time. I always suggest if you can get your tabs opened up, and if you can get your folders or your files, your PowerPoints, all at least open, it makes the sharing experience a lot quicker. And then Wallace, did you have a question?
Can you, I'm gonna, actually Dr. Rattan, I'm gonna do the same thing. Is I have a PDF I need to open, then I have a development tool. And so I need those up and ready to go when I share my screen. So I think it's the same situation, but could you show the whiteboard just real quick, and like if we bring that up and then we can like share the whiteboard with other students or?
So I can we can do the whiteboard in here, so I can just show you that way instead of sharing my screen, because this one can be a little more interactive. So that's that same from the share content tab, and share blank whiteboard is the very first option.
Okay.
So
So
in here, the settings that I have allows everyone to mark on it. You can change that depending on whether or not you want the students to be able to mark on it.
mhm,
That's personal preference. It could go either way. It could either be fine, or you could have some goofballs, writing things that they
exactly.
shouldn't be writing. Yeah.
How
And so
do you
some of the different oh, what's that?
how do you prevent them from doing that? Like saying, okay, I am going to write on the whiteboard here. So,
So if you set the expectations and you want to trust that they won't mess with it, then you can just leave it at that. Say, hey, I don't want you to write on this whiteboard. We might do an interactive activity another time, not this time, so please don't make any marks. If you trust that they will listen to you, typically if it's an older class or a smaller class, that's an okay way to go. But to change that, if you click on that little purple tab down in the bottom right and you hit the
yeah.
gear icon for the settings,
Yeah. Oh,
yep,
okay.
click on session settings and then draw on whiteboard and files, just unclick that or deselect that.
Unclicking it. I see.
hmm
And on the whiteboard, you can type, right? Because my drawing skills aren't very good.
You can, yeah. So in the
Yeah.
upper right corner, you'll see there's a box with a T in it. And you can try
Yeah.
this right now if you want. This is open to all of you can mark on this right now. You can mess with it. So if you
Yeah.
click on that T and anywhere on the document,
Yeah.
type something. Do you see that populate?
Yeah. And I just
Yep,
did. I can type.
I can type here. Yeah,
Yeah. And
exactly. So,
drawing is terrible, but yeah. Okay.
yeah. Yep. So you can put
Yeah.
boxes around things. If you see next to that pen, there's a little arrow. So there are some different options. There's a brush, there's a drawing tool, there's also an eraser.
Yeah.
Hey, nice. I like
Yeah.
how you made the shape.
Yeah. The
So,
shape. It's like
yeah.
controlling a little bit. Okay. That's good.
hmm
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's a really neat little tool.